Hi guys, I'm George. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm here in Kensington Gardens in Hyde Park and I'm going to be painting a plein air landscape, and there's actually an event going on today which is the London plein air group. So I'm going to be painting alongside quite a few other painters, and I can already see a few easels dotted around, so this should be quite fun. Maybe meet some new artists and get a painting done in somewhere that I've never actually painted before. I'm painting with oil paint onto a gesso primed panel that I've toned to a light value neutral grey. I'm sketching in the composition with raw umber paint using a fine filbert brush. For my composition, I've decided to really focus in on the fountain and the two statues either side. When I arrived in this spot to paint, I realised that one of the other artists painting the fountain and the statues was a lady who studied at the same atelier as me for 3 years, and the drawing and painting of white plaster casts at that particular atelier was a very large part of the school's curriculum, and seeing how we were both drawn to the same spot seems like we couldn't escape those long hours of drawing sculptures. I've now mixed the different colours on my palette for the various shades of green in the trees and the water, and I'm now applying a thinned down wash of these colour mixes to cover these areas of the painting. The sooner the painting surface is covered, the easier it becomes to judge the shapes and the colours and the tonal values of the overall scene. As the closer the painting becomes to the subject, the easier it is to judge by flicking your eyes between the two and seeing which things jump out at you. And as the paint has been applied thinly, it's also easier to paint on top or wipe away any mistakes. For the water spraying out of the fountain in the middle, I'm being careful to avoid painting any colours over this section, and for now I'm allowing the light grey of my panel to act as the water spraying up. I'm also using a tissue that I've dipped into my medium to wipe away some of the paint of the trees in the area where the water is fallen back into the fountain. When painting wet into wet paint, like this plein air study that I'm doing here, I like to paint the darkest darks and the lightest lights and the areas with the highest chroma early on, so that I can paint them directly onto the dry surface of my panel. As if you try to paint on top of an area which already has paint on it. The paint will mix a bit, and as a result it will generally make a muddier colour with less impact. As I paint the base of this fountain in the middle of the scene, I start by just trying to paint the overall shape and the overall tonal value, as there are in fact a lot of small details and intricacies within the design, with some figures sculpted in, holding the fountain on their shoulders, but if you squint, it all merges into a sort of dark brown mass, which is what I'm trying to capture now, and then later on I can add in some smaller details and refinements to this fountain. When painting these statues on either side of the fountain, it's particularly important to consider where the light in the scene is coming from, in order to understand the position of the shadows and the halftones. As it's an overcast day, you don't get the hard shadows that you would on a sunny day, but the position of the sun still influences the shadows, and the sky also acts as a soft top light over the whole scene. I can also tell that the sun is lighting the scene from above and slightly to the right, so the shadows will fall underneath and a bit to the left of the objects in the scene, with the lighter sections being the planes which are facing upward towards the light. To paint the sculptures, I mix a warm grey consisting of titanium white, yellow ochre, a bit of alizarin crimson and a touch of ultramarine blue. I've mixed 3 variants of this colour on my palette, a mid-tone and a half-tone and a shadow tone, and the lightest highlights I will add on later. As the light in the scene is soft due to this overcast sky, the contrast between the shadows and the lights on these statues is relatively low, with the darkest sections being the folds in their drapery, which are receiving less bounce light from the surroundings. Here I'm massing in the section in the foreground which is in front and slightly to the right of the fountain, and as this area is wet due to the spray from the fountain, it's darker in value and warmer in colour temperature, with mostly an orangish brown colour. To paint the water which is spraying out of these urns held by these statues either side of the central fountain, I'm using pure titanium white applied thickly with a loaded brush, and I also apply a slightly greyed down white underneath to act as the shadow on the underbody of water. Here I'm using a pointed round brush to refine some smaller details within this central fountain. I've mixed a slightly lighter and cooler colour mix which has a bluish purple hue, and I can use this to paint some highlights on the sections which are facing towards the sky and as a result receiving light from it. I hope you enjoyed that video of me painting in the Italian gardens in Hyde Park. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it and it really does help my YouTube channel. And if you're interested in painting with the London Pleinair group, I'll link their Instagram in the description. They do meet at a different location in London on the first Saturday of every month, and the organisers do a great job at finding different locations which are amazing to paint. For example, the Italian Gardens is a location that I've never painted in before. What a great place to paint, and somewhere I never thought of going to paint, so they're really good at that. And also you'll meet lots of other artists. You can also follow me on Instagram at George Frederick Thomas, where I post my most recent paintings. Until next time.